Shwmai, croeso, hello and welcome to episode 47 of the Bluebirds Nest. This is the final episode before the start of phase 2 of the Cymru Premier, just 24 hours away from our first game, away to Aberystwyth Town. But before we look at that, as you can see, I am joined by the club's brand new Chief Operating Officer, Miss Beccy Nuttall. Beccy, welcome to the Nest.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for inviting me on.
Well, I'm sure your former employers and colleagues are going to be enjoying this one just as much as everyone associated with Haverford County too. But I think you've been cringing in the last few weeks at the thought of when I've invited you on. But here we are, and delighted to have you with us. We'll come on to what life was like, perhaps working at Cardiff Met shortly. But before that, I want to sort of explore your own sort of journey, your studies, and particularly your sporting achievements that you had whilst at Met. So, yeah, and there was a lot of success in that. So tell us your own academic and sporting journey, if you can, please.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, so started at Cardiff Met, previously UWIC, in 2009, where I did my undergraduate degree in sport and PE. The plan at that point was to be a PE teacher. Very uninterested in football, I have to say, at that point. Athletics was my sport growing up. You couldn't have paid to watch me and paid to much, to the disappointment of both my mum and dad, who were heavily involved in football.
Okay.
But just uninterested, and I've completely focused on athletics. I did my undergrad, went on to do my PGCE, and then did an MSc in sport management, all at Cardiff Met. So institutionalized to its finest, more than likely, but I loved it. I loved the environment. I loved the academic staff. So it was not really a hard decision for me to stay there and continue my academic journey.
And sporting success on the track, I believe?
Yeah, athletics is my sport, and middle distance endurance runner. Represented Wales on a few occasions, definitely nowhere near that anymore. But I still enjoy going on the odd plod and keeping fit. But yeah, athletics taught me a lot when I was growing up. And probably it's taught me how transferable the skill sets are in sports. So whilst I say that I was very uninterested in football, they're transferable, the skills you learn, and it's probably put me where I am today.
Awesome. Well, yeah, your time as a participant of sport and your time at uni led you to the administration side, I suppose, and it's some journey. I've done my research. There's so many different roles that you've had, right up until the time that you left Cardiff Met before Christmas, as I think it was head of operations and academy manager. So you've sort of embraced all of those different opportunities at Kincoid campus. How did it all start then?
Oh, well, I actually applied for a job in NIAC, the National Indoor Athletic Centre that hosts the football pitch, just as a receptionist, which I didn't get. They didn't give me the job. I had a phone call a few weeks later saying that the person that they'd appointed didn't actually want the job anymore, and would I still be interested? So that's how it started. So just administrative role to start with. Then it sort of developed into like a rec assistant role, and lifeguarding, which led then to sport development. Historically, Cardiff Met hosted around 12 junior sports programs. We had around, I think, 3,000 children on campus a week participating in netball, athletics, football, swimming. And it wasn't until the Cardiff Met side got promoted into the Cymru Prem that we had to align the football academy closer to the first team. At that point, the first team had to have an academy that sat directly underneath it. I was sort of given a loose introduction to football, and sort of left, I need to thank Aled Lewis for this, actually, who now works at the FAW Trust, or the charitable arm of the FAW now, who just let me get on with it. And we achieved really highly in our first academy audit, which, to our surprise, it was conducted, I think, by Spencer Woman at the time. And we just didn't expect to achieve as highly as we did. But I just really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the learning around football, the administrative elements to the football programme in Wales. Quite closely after that, I was asked if I wanted to get involved in the first team licensing process, where I was given a pen drive, and that was sort of the end of my non-involvement in football. And that just grew over time. And it's been an incredible journey that Cardiff Met have been on, that continue to be on. But for me, it was amazing. It was such a good learning opportunity. It was something that I probably needed at that point as well. I was coming out of my athletics career, and the desire for competition was definitely still there, but not on the track. So I think that's how my involvement within football grew. And alongside that, I've continued to teach on a number of different undergraduate modules, which has been amazing because you get to know the students, the players. A lot of them will work for you within the academy programs and enhance that experience as well. So the two tie in together like really well.
Awesome. And yeah, like you say, the success over the last decade that Met have had obviously goes hand in hand with your own progress through the ranks. But I remember fondly for us, I suppose, we went toe to toe with Met for a promotion back, I think it was the 14-15 season. And for those around at that time, it was neck and neck all season. And yeah, something I remind Scotch, obviously Elliot Scotcher, about very often, that we came out by, I think, literally a goal being the difference for us getting promotion back then. But no, credit where it's due for the rise. And obviously Met from, I remember them in Welsh League 3 of what it was called back then, all the way up to Cymru Premier and into their own European journey, following a playoff final win, and I think even finishing 7th in the league as well.
Yeah,
so yeah, we can certainly relate to doing it the hard way. But we spoke to Dylan on a previous episode, and he sort of outlined how that came about and the success of what it meant to the club and things. But for you then, I'm sure you were the elation of winning the penalty shootout, and we've seen it was Elliot who scored the winning penalty, Elliot Evans, that is. Was it the sort of quick realization that, oh my God, I've got to get this squad of staff and players across Europe? Was that the sort of dawning moment for you?
Yeah, to be honest, because it was so unfamiliar and it's not something that Cardiff Met had ever experienced, we probably didn't realise at that point like the depth of planning that needed to happen. The day was incredible, the bus journey home, like that irreplaceable moment for me. And to be honest, the European journey was something that will forever be like a pinnacle in my footballing career. The planning I just loved. I thrive off events, operational elements of administration. So whilst it was challenging and there was a significant lack of sleep over that period, it was amazing. We were fortunate to draw a team in Luxembourg, Progress, who were, I can't compliment them enough on their professionalism. They fully supported me through that process. They knew that we hadn't been to Europe before, so we just worked really closely with them. They were incredible hosts, and they were unbelievable people to host in Cardiff. And we've stayed in touch with some of them, or I definitely stayed in touch with some of them over that period. So yeah, they definitely made that experience for Cardiff Met. The chairman, incredible, just brilliant people. That off the pitch, we weren't in competition. We wanted to create the best off-pitch environment for both teams, both home and away. So yeah, I thank them significantly for that.
Awesome. Yeah, and you actually won the home tie. You lost 1-0 away. I think that was a late goal as well, but then you took the lead 2-0. They pegged you back almost, so it was 2-2 on aggregate. And obviously back then there was an away goals factor that came into play, meaning that you went out on that rule. Dylan mentioned it would have been potentially a tie with Steven Gerrard's Rangers later down the line. And I was going to ask you, is that something you would have been dreading, the organisation for obviously Glasgow Rangers, or something that you would have been licking your lips for? And I'm assuming, as you just said, you love the organisation. That would have been incredible to get to that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been. And I remember standing in the stand at Leckwith with our CEO, Mike Davis, at the time, and just looking at each other and thinking, got another 2 weeks. It was tiring. And, I have to compliment the FAW here, and particularly Andrew Howard, who's no longer there. He helped us so much through that period, because there was times where there's not many staff behind the scenes at Cardiff Met, so it can become quite isolating. So yeah, Andrew worked really closely with me in that period to help me, and again, can't thank him enough for that. But I don't think it mattered to me personally, like who we would have gone on to play. Like arranging a fixture at that level would have been incredible, but any progression through that first round would have been unbelievable for Cardiff Met. I think, those last moments in the game at Leckwith, I think Kyle McCarthy was playing with a broken arm. Like he'd fractured his arm on the pitch and he'd continued to play. And it wasn't until after the game that we had to get into hospital. And, and that shows sort of the resilience and willingness of the players to progress through that round. And it wasn't meant to be that year. But, I do hope that they have success in the future. But unbelievable memories, experiences.
Awesome. Well, and I think this week, we have to mention other success with Cardiff Met. Obviously, Will Evans, he's hot topic this week. Obviously, ex-Cardiff Met, ex-Bala, ex-Wales C as well. I think he really put his name up in lights that night when he scored twice against England 18 months ago or so now. But yeah, he scored for Newport County on the weekend against little old Man United on the telly. But did you watch the game, and how does it feel sort of seeing him, progress and rise through the ranks to what he has now?
It's a little bit surreal because Will Evans Bear, which we all know him as, it's just, he's one of the boys, he's one of us, and it genuinely couldn't have happened to a nicer person. He's so grounded, his family are unbelievable. Half of the boys went to watch the fixture. They managed to get tickets. And then the rest of us went to one of the pubs in Cardiff to watch the fixture. And it just feels so close. Like he's playing on TV against Manchester United, but like it's still him. He's still so genuine. You can see that in his reaction to everything he does. Like Bear will forever be the life and soul of any environment that he's in. And people just can't help but just love him. And, I hope that continues for him.
Definitely. He does come across really well. And like you say, down to earth. We won't open the can of worms about his livelihood as a farmer or anything like that after the Twitter saga, should we say. But yeah, I will say that surely Robert Page is keeping an eye because, there was a big push from Wrexham fans about Mullen 12 months ago about getting him in the Welsh squad. So, with his goal-scoring exploits at the moment, who knows what lays around the corner for him. But he's also got a couple of teammates at Newport who've sort of come through the Cymru Leagues as well. So it's showing perhaps there's a pathway for players to climb through the Cymru Leagues and use that as a platform. But maybe one day, perhaps Mr. Evans would like to join us on a Nest episode and we can talk through his journey before he hits the starlight of international success, perhaps. But back to the Met journey, an established club in the Cymru Premier now, to be fair, regular success. We've not even touched the League Cup win or the couple of times you've reached the final or, in your time at Met. But I'm sure you've played pivotal roles off the field, behind the scenes on that. So, with you, no doubt, enjoying your time there, what was it that, what were the factors you were looking across Wales, literally from east to west? What factors caught your eye from Haverfordwest County that made you want to leave Met and join us then?
I don't necessarily think it was a desire to leave Cardiff Met. I touched base with Rob on a number of occasions, and I think for me, Haverfordwest just seems like an exciting club to be involved in. The board seem like particularly progressive in terms of their ideas, just what you're doing today with me. It's exciting. I think there's a lot of opportunities to grow. I've been at Cardiff Met for, as I said, I did my undergrad, MSc, BC, and I need to have those other opportunities as well. If we see players, we talk about Will Evans and his progression on the pitch. For me, it's maybe that progression, like behind the scenes as well, and see what else there is out there.
Now, crunch time, I suppose. Now, you've only been in your position just under a month, I think it is now, when this goes out live. We spoke to Dennis 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and he was still finding his feet then, and no doubt you are now as well. But I got 3 parts to this question. We're going to look at the past, the present, and the future side of things. You've got the wealth of experience that you've outlined there, coming into this role. Is there anything in particular you think you've previously done that we're perhaps not doing that you'd like to sort of introduce to the club or, use from your past experience?
It's a really hard question, Ryan, because there's already been a host of good work happen at Haverfordwest, and there are so many people within the club, volunteers, like some contractor members of staff that are so knowledgeable. So at the moment, I'm just learning from them. I have a wealth of experience within the Cymru Prem, in particular to Cardiff Met, but for me, it's about developing that knowledge for Haverfordwest and seeing what suits this area, environment, stakeholders, to help them grow. There's so many opportunities to grow commercially with Dennis. Dennis and I started on the same day, and he's been brilliant to work with so far. He's the energy that is going to support when those challenging times come. But he's brilliant, and for me, it's about growth, creating that family environment maybe that we had at Cardiff Met. The players, the staff, we were like one huge family at points, like growing up together. We've had a lot of the players there from 18 to like 30. It was good, and there's definitely some elements of that we can bring into Haverfordwest.
Awesome. And you've sort of answered it, but yeah, what's going on currently at Haverfordwest that excites you that perhaps you haven't been a part of similar things before?
There was limitations at the university because we were attached to a university institution, so there's some things that we couldn't do. There feels like there's more freedom at Haverfordwest to go explore. We're currently looking at some matchday experiences. We've just brought in some players within the transfer window that the community have responded well to, and we really want to bring that community feel like into the club, growing that fan base, and then procedurally aligning things behind the scenes as well.
Awesome. The big one now then, the future. So you've summed up what's been going on and what your experience comes. What do you hope to achieve during hopefully a long-lasting time as COO? Where to start?
Good question. I've actually been really fortunate to touch base with a lady called Caroline Spanton recently, who's the CEO of Welsh Cycling. And I remember watching Caroline present years and years ago when I was in university, when she was working at the WRU. She was overseeing the women's programme. And I remember watching her thinking, wow, like, you're amazing. If I ever get into a management role, I just want to align myself to your principles, like the way she conducts herself. So I was lucky enough to meet her a few weeks ago, where she has given me some documentation to review about how we move forward. So at the moment, I'm not going to set myself any limitations, shall we say, because I want to be able to explore what we currently have properly and on an appropriate level to be able to look for how we move forward.
Awesome. Well, it is a new era. You want to put your own stamp on it. And I think it pretty much all starts tomorrow night as well, on the field anyway, with the start of phase 2 sees us head back to Aberystwyth Park Avenue and the return of Bluebirds Nest live. Obviously, the audio coverage of the match as it unfolds, which will start just before kickoff, just before 8 p.m. tomorrow night. So please do join us on Twitter, Facebook, and right here on the club's YouTube channel. Beccy, our last away fixture was actually at Aber, ending 1-1. It's a tough place to go. Tony's referred to it as 10 cup finals ahead of us now in phase 2. We've luckily, I suppose, got a lot of South Wales fixtures ahead, so we've been able to arrange those Friday nights under the lights. A trip up to Colwyn Bay as well. But what are your thoughts on a logistical basis and even on-field matters? What are your thoughts with phase 2 ahead of us?
We've got to approach every game, as Tony said, as if it's a cup final, but positively as well. We've had a change of circumstances within the sort of the back office of the club. New era, new challenges, new opportunities. So I think we just got to be excited about phase 2. Obviously, we're striving for that 7th position, get ourselves back into that playoff, and you just don't know what can happen from there. As we've both experienced in the past.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree with that. I mentioned Tony briefly there then. You've said, you previously had a great set of staff you worked alongside. How have you found the team behind the team then? Not just the full-time staff, but the volunteers, etc. Working alongside your new colleagues then the last month.
Yeah, as I said earlier, we were limited with resource and staffing at Cardiff Met. So coming into Haverfordwest. There seems to be people everywhere all the time. And, Tony's been great, really welcoming, really helping me get my feet on the ground and again, running with things. But, it's the people that are looking after the ground, the volunteers. They're incredibly knowledgeable, and I really need to tap into that knowledge to help us grow. They are part of this club in every capacity, and they've been brilliant. They've been incredible in welcoming me. They can't do enough. We're working together to look how we develop like the ground, the facilities, and they're the core of this club. I haven't had too much of an opportunity to meet the players yet. Obviously, we've had quite a big break in fixtures since I've started, so I think we've only had one fixture. So obviously some of the players I do know, but some others I haven't had the opportunity to meet just yet.
Yeah, with regards to the playing squad then, obviously they have been training hard already. We've got, you mentioned new additions. Declan Carroll's back with us after a few years away, and the return after a few months of Corey Shepherd, who was obviously signed in the last few days. However, I will take the opportunity to say we're a twin lighter now in the matchday squad, with Dan John obviously taking an exciting opportunity at Armandford in the Cymru South, where he'll be coached by former Haverfordwest players and staff, Sean Cresser and Wyn Thomas. So obviously wish Dan all the best with that. You mentioned that we got a couple of alumni from Cardiff Met within the ranks. Scotch and Dylan in particular, they're both injured at the moment. Have you had a chance to catch up with them?
Yeah, managed to pop over to Dylan's house for dinner a few weeks ago. It was lovely. I'll be a regular occurrence. I wasn't actually that familiar with Elliot at Cardiff Met, so I started as Elliot left. So I've only really got to know him through the players. He seems brilliant. I think that's what I've got to compliment all the players, both, past and present. Dylan and Elliot are two really good examples of players that Cardiff Met have had, but they are the core of it. And I think that shows in like Dylan's personality, both on and off the pitch, is that they make it what it is. The players have a lot of control at Cardiff Met around the environment, and that they've created that themselves. And Dylan's replicating that at Haverfordwest.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting. I've got to ask you this question now. One final question. The prospect of facing Met in a future fixture, who knows? It might still end up being later on this season. I think it's a case of never say never with the Cymru Premier and certainly Haverfordwest County. But is that something you're dreading, or is it, a return to Kincoid something that obviously appeals to you as well?
Definitely not dreading it. It'll probably be a bizarre situation, obviously. I've been hosting those games for quite a number of years now, but, I've left behind like my best friends. So for me, it'll just be around visiting them, watching them play football. I want them to be successful, like the players on the pitch deserve it in every capacity. You've got players there at Cardiff Met who have grown that club themselves. They've played for free under amateur contracts for a number of years. You've got Emlyn, Elliot, Charlie, Kyle. They deserve to be successful. So for me, going back there, obviously I want Haverfordwest to win. But it'll be brilliant to see everybody. Yeah. Again.
And I think obviously they represent in the South Wales, all the opposition in phase two. They've got some travelling to do. So, we wish them all the best. And like I said, who knows, we might end up facing them in a future fixture at the end, the conclusion of phase two. But hopefully not. And hopefully they can push on themselves. They're more than capable of getting that third spot. And Ryan Jenkins can lead his men into Europe themselves. And we'll also do it via the playoffs as well. And that'd be a perfect scenario for you, I'm assuming.
It would, yeah. That'd be nice.
Awesome. So it's been great to chat, and I'm sure listeners have had a real insight into your background and where you want to take your role. I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone wishing you all the best with it. I, for one, am certainly looking forward to seeing all the future plans come to fruition, etc. Roll on phase two then, I think. So thank you for your time. I'll see you tomorrow up at Arbor.
Absolutely. I'll see you tomorrow, Ryan.